What's going on, everybody? Hope you're all having a fantastic day, and welcome back to the Armory.
As always, the Armory is a podcast where we're breaking down kind of what it means to be a leader, various leadership traits that go along with it. My fault. It's been a minute.
And today, we got our dear friend Caleb here. We've talked about him a lot on the podcast. He's been in a lot of our stories. My best friend growing up, and yeah.
And as we just said, there were no code names for Caleb. So Caleb is Caleb.
Yeah.
And Caleb will be Caleb tomorrow, and tomorrow will be yesterday, or today's yesterday.
And you're not going to be able to tell, but this is Elliot Moore, one of our last guests, brother. It's hard to tell; they look nothing alike.
Nothing alike. I almost wore the same shirt as him too. I had to change my shirt before I came on here.
Yeah,
A little bit funny.
Yeah. I appreciate you guys having me on. I've been watching the podcast since day one. Really appreciate it.
What a G!
Yeah.
What a G!
Yeah.
My guy.
Yeah.
He's our biggest fan.
Yeah,
Number one.
Caleb has
Number
been my
one
best
fan.
friend growing up. We've been really close ever since. I've told that story a few times
Sixth
before.
grade, seventh grade.
Yeah, super young. Yeah, and this is part of the little quad thing that we have. We've also talked about before.
Yeah, big four.
With Elliot. Yeah, the big four,
Mm-hmm.
the core four, whatever you want to call us.
I'd say core four.
Yeah.
Four? Straight up
I
Chick-fil-A.
like core four.
Oh shoot, you're right.
Yeah, we can't say core four. Big four.
Yeah, sorry.
Big four.
Anyways,
But yeah, today we're going to be talking about sinful nature, some stories from us, and then kind of how we can overcome it. So it's going to be the topic of discussion today. But, I'll let Caleb kick us off.
and really quick before we kick us off, we'll give a little background on what's going on right now.
Oh, yeah. That's a good point. Little change of scenery.
Look, change of scenery. We're right now at their apartment
We're at the crib.
where they've been working. If you watched last episode, you know that he wasn't even in it because he wasn't able to come back up and film one. So
Yeah.
did a little impromptu, but I came here and we're filming. We got our guest Caleb.
Yeah.
That guy. This is where they live. This is Caleb's room actually.
Yeah, this is
Yeah,
Caleb's
I
room.
sleep right there.
Yeah,
It's right behind the camera.
behind the
he's
camera.
sleeping
Yeah.
right there.
Yeah, this is where Cam's bed goes. He's been mentioned too on the podcast a few times.
Yes, he has.
Could we get a moment of silence real quick?
We're sponsored by Lonnie.
Woo, shoot. Yes, we are.
I just made that joke up right now.
No, you did not. We have
I'm
never
serious.
made that joke on this podcast.
No,
Ever.
we haven't
never heard
until
it.
now.
Shoot. Okay, the greatest part about this is our Bobby, whatever her last name is, our Bobby mics.
Yeah.
We do have the same mics as that Bobby girl, and she holds her mics like this, and it's really weird. But we
Because
couldn't
the
get,
stands won't go on this table.
and
Won't fit.
Yeah.
there's nothing else in this apartment to make it work. But yeah,
Yeah. But it's cool. We're
Anyways,
thugging it out.
Yeah, making it work. Got to film a podcast. Got to get out. Stay consistent. All that. Not giving up.
No,
Anyways.
giving up.
Let's give it
This
away
is
to
our-
Caleb.
This is our last podcast. We're giving up.
Oh,
Yeah.
are we
That's what I
serious?
heard.
Right now?
Ellie and I are
Actually.
taking over.
Yeah. We're actually, we sold it to Caleb.
$2 million.
$2 million bucks,
Worth
yeah.
every penny.
Speaking of $2 million, Caleb, how much did you pay to be a guest on this podcast?
I paid $500,000 down to be on this podcast. Okay, to
Yeah.
get my name out there.
Yeah.
right.
We got a little monthly payment going
Monthly
after
payment,
that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I think I'm going $50 a month for the next bunch of months.
the next bunch of months.
Rest of his life.
The
rest
next
of my life.
Yeah, the next 40 years.
Till I'm
is-
80.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah, unfortunately, but
Yeah, he's locked in.
and by 50 he means 50,000.
Yeah.
50,000.
50,000 a
No,
month.
No, 500,000 in total. That's the down payment. It's like what, like 5 million in total?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
It's something like.
Something like
But
that.
hey, we'll hop
Daily
into
allowance.
it. We'll get your money's worth.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so the start of, I grew up in the church. My dad's a pastor. I've always been a follower of Christ. I've always been a Christian, but I haven't always been a follower of Christ.
Right. There's
So,
a difference.
There is a big difference. We'll get into that a lot more. But throughout all of middle school and then my freshman and sophomore year of high school, I was fat. There's no light way of putting that. I was fat. I ended up
There's
weighing
no doubt.
230 pounds before I went on my first big cut. And they talked about it a little bit at one point, how it was unhealthy the way that I did it initially, which
the way he lost weight.
the way I lost weight
Oh, yeah.
initially. But that was about 2 years ago when I started my cut, and it was gluttony. Gluttony was the sin that I was living in every day with food, with this and that. And gluttony isn't just about food; it's about overindulgence of pretty much anything. Like it can
Right.
be,
Sure.
it could be food, it could be alcohol, it could be drugs, it
Right.
could be something that isn't something that you take. Like it could be social media.
Right.
You know,
100%.
lots
That
of different
definitely works
things.
into social media big time when
Yeah.
you sit there and scroll all day.
But yeah.
Yeah.
So we're gonna be talking a lot about overcoming the sinful nature and also overcoming that life of sin, like living in your sin. Because it's one thing to sin and do it once and ask for forgiveness. and it's another thing.
And repent.
And repent. It's another thing to be living in it and know that you're in it and not do a thing to change it.
Sure.
Right? So that's what I was in. I was living in gluttony for a good bit of my life. And then I was breaking out of it. And the thing that you'll learn about the devil is that anytime that you're living a life of sin and you break out of it, he's going to try to get you somewhere else. He's going to try to. And
Big
what
time.
he got me with was anger and wrath. So a little over 2 years ago is when my parents told me that we were moving to North Carolina from Georgia. And so I had just like made a bunch of friends. You know, I was at a good point in my life where I was like best friends with you guys, and we were hanging out, and we had like this good friend group, this solid
We're all
group.
driving and
We
stuff.
were all driving. So it was a big part of my life. Like it had just taken off, you know? And then I find out that we're moving, and I was, man, I can't put this like any light way. Like I was just an absolute asshole is what it was to my parents, to my family. And until March of this year. So I was living in my anger for over a year and just being just a terrible person to them. And it affected me not just to them, but in like my day-to-day life. Like I just lived with this chip on my shoulder, and it was freeing. When I forgave them, it was freeing, and apologized to them. Yeah, that was a big part of it too.
Yeah, like a weight, like a heavy weight.
Yeah, it was like a weight taken off of my shoulders, and it was actually Zach and Elliot who they prayed for me.
Yeah.
They told me that it was your words. You said that I have a block of the Holy Spirit, that there was something missing.
Right.
And we we figured out what that was. Yeah, but the devil's always going to try to drag you down with another sin when you get out of one, like 7 deadly sins. It's not always one of the big 7, you know, but it's always something. Like lust is always been there, like grabbing, trying to get a hold of me.
Yeah.
You know? But yeah.
Let me ask you guys a question.
Yeah.
Do y'all think that every single male struggles with lust?
Oh, 100%.
100%.
And do y'all think that it's the same for everybody or different?
I think it's definitely different for a lot of people.
Yeah, I think the way they struggle is different because some people might not watch porn, might not jerk off, but they have a sex addiction, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
or Matthew chapter 5, it says that even like looking on a woman with lustful intent, then you're committing lust in your heart.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's crazy. I'll share a little story just because I feel like it's fitting. But for right now... What? Oh.
You're a little more like this. When you're down like this, it's a lot different than when you're...
I'm not going to speak into it like this.
No, but like have it more angled when you're...
Oh, okay. I got
Yeah.
you. Instead of this. Oh.
Yeah. There is a difference when you have it a little
So you
angled
should have it,
rather
like,
than
lower.
here.
Right. Okay.
But for the longest time, I feel like my biggest thing, and I might have mentioned this before, I can't remember exactly, but was like laziness. So I would like procrastinate a ton. So I'd put it off until the very last minute until I had to absolutely had to get it done. And when I kind of like broke free of that, because I feel like in the past, this is kind of why I asked the question I did before. I struggled with lust a little bit, but like it was never really like a big thing, which is so weird. But as soon as I broke like that, like procrastination, like laziness, and like inconsistency with like anything faith related, that's when my lust temptations were like started, I should say.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna be honest, I still deal with those like every day, even like to this day.
So do I.
Yeah. And
Me too.
Yeah.
But I just thought it was interesting that I didn't always struggle with it like I do today. So it's like it like developed, like it's like, I don't know, like the devil had it in his back pocket. If I ever like shook something, he's like, all right, watch this, and then like, boom.
Right. If you ever fled from your natural sin that you were given.
Yeah.
And you know what another word for laziness is? Sloth, which is one of the 7 deadlies.
It's true.
It's there. It always ties back. Yeah.
Yeah, which is nuts.
Yeah.
But
yeah, and that's a big thing with like getting in the gym. It wasn't just gluttony, but it was sloth too. Like I was lazy. I kept saying that I was gonna do it, and I never did it. For a very long time, I said that I was gonna lose weight, and I never did. Well, I did eventually, but yeah,
it took a minute.
Yeah, it took a minute. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Big time.
But yeah, I think that what like your story isn't super uncommon. at least the sins of your story aren't super uncommon.
Yeah.
So people being very wrathful, very like holding a grudge against their parents is not like out of the ordinary. Like it's not just you. And then definitely not gluttony. I mean, no offense to anybody, but
America.
It's bad. And the thing about it is, 9 times out of 10, you can do something about it.
Oh yeah.
Unless it's like a disease, which you can still do something about it. But 9 times out of 10, just lose weight.
Yeah.
And it's 100%. It's super hard.
Yeah.
And obviously you can attest to that.
Yeah.
It's one of the hardest things you can do, but it's possible. So do you want it? Like, do you respect yourself? Do you want to be able to look in the mirror and like what you see?
Like, does your drive for being in shape outweigh your hatred towards your own body?
Right.
You know what I mean?
It's crazy. Your body's a temple.
Yeah,
That's right.
It is a temple. 1 Corinthians, I don't know.
Anyways, I want you to. So you told your story, right?
Yeah.
And you kind of briefly mentioned like the 3 different sins that you were living in, but
Yeah.
I want you to go more in depth with all of them and then the chain. So start from the beginning.
Okay.
And like, what did your life look like while you were in this? Okay. Then once you overcame the one, what did your life look like going into and while you were into the second one, and then same thing with the third one. What did that look like for you to overcome it, and what was your life like while you were in it?
So I wouldn't really say that lust was the third one, because it was going on throughout both, and it's still a struggle. Like, it's still something that's difficult for me. But
I think it's similar with him, honestly, that it got worse when you got rid of the other 2. Would you agree?
100%. Yeah, I'd say that with gluttony, it was like I was just I don't know how to describe this. I was fat, and I felt outcast. Like, I felt bad for myself, right? So I would go to football practice, go out to eat, do this and that, and I just felt like everybody looked down on me, which is like now that I'm more in shape, I try not to do this, but I will look down on people. Like, I try not to do that, but it's like just thinking about it and thinking, hey, I came from this. Like, you can do that too. But yeah, I felt bad for myself, and that was the main issue, was that if you feel bad for yourself, it doesn't do anything. You're not going to get anything done with that. Yeah. And then with anger, it was just like it was a choice. I was choosing to live in that anger, and I knew that it was there, and I could have broken out of it at any point, but I didn't, because I was just so upset with what was going on. And I thought this is the main issue. I thought my life was going in this direction, but God had other plans for me. He said, we're going this way, and that's the way that your life is going to go. And so I thought that my plan was perfect, and God had other plans for me. So there were reasons that I moved to North Carolina, and yeah, so I never would have had this job and been living here if I never moved to North Carolina. We never would have even, probably you too, we wouldn't have ended up working for Vivint, and we wouldn't have moved here, which was a big step in my life, because I'm going to need to have money when I eventually move back to Georgia, because that's my plan. Yeah, is that I'm going to live in North Carolina for a little bit longer until I have enough money to get a house and rent out other units. Yeah, but live in Georgia. I want it to be here, but I had to go this way to get there.
Yeah, and you just couldn't see it in the moment.
Yeah, I couldn't see it in the moment.
And you were fighting it.
Oh, yeah.
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 Big time.
Yeah. And then lust, I think that the best way to overcome lust is not to overcome it at all, but to cut it at the root, right?
Yeah.
So, like, if you're scrolling on Instagram and you're just looking for something, like, sometimes you do it subconsciously, but you're doing this to look for like some kind of spark, right? So to cut it at the roots, you got to cut it off before it happens, right? Yeah. So you could do that by deleting Instagram, deleting TikTok, whatever, or you can cut this person out of your life. If your right hand causes you to sin, cut it off. Also Matthew chapter 5 again. But yeah, I mean, just cutting off that seed before it spreads is the best way to overcome lust, because you can't alone. The only way that you can get over lust is through Jesus. Yeah. There's no way to get over it by yourself.
Right. I feel like that's one part of it. The one part is being be able to delete Instagram, having that discipline. But the other part is what you said at the end is that like you're not going to be you can't change yourself through discipline because you're going to fail every single time because you're a dumb sheep and God's a shepherd. Yes. So you cut off the seed and you stop watching porn and you cold turkey masturbation and all that kind of stuff. And then you sit there and you keep living your life normally. You're eventually going to fall back into sin because you're a dumb sheep. Like there's no way your will is not strong enough. Your discipline's not strong enough no matter who you are. Maybe David Goggins, he's crazy. Love David Goggins, but he's a little different wired, but you're not gonna be able to do it alone. Yeah. That's why you're an empty vessel. You have to fill that with something else, and that something else is Jesus.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a change of heart. So, I agree with your assessment. It's yes, that's definitely like one side of the coin. So I feel like it's such an important factor that you can't just like not cut anything out and then like change your heart. So I think it's cutting it out at the root, like you said, and then the other side is changing your heart and then like wanting to. Because I've been in kind of a place where I just don't even try. It's like, oh man, well I did it yesterday, so it's like, oh, and you just like don't have any motivation to like stop. So it's definitely two sides of the coin and you need both. Yeah. So I really like that assessment, and then yours obviously is spot on. Right. So
you can't have one without the other.
Yeah, I mean, you can't like if you're trying to cut it out, then you have to fill it with God. Because if you try to cut it out, you're gonna fall back into it if you're not filling it with something else. That's the empty vessel analogy that even like it was in the Bible when I think y'all talked about this with Elliot. I don't remember where, but Jesus cast a demon out of a man and 6 more demons went into him. Yeah, right. Because he didn't fill his life back up with Christ. And I know that it's not just freeing to overcome that sin. But once you're reading your Bible every day, you're praying every day, you just feel better. Oh, yeah. And you feel more, when you're more obedient to God, he gives more back to you.
100%.
Because what's the opposite of living in your sin is living with God. Living for God. So when you are doing that, like think about how, it sounds dumb, but think about how good it feels like after you jerk off, like those 10 seconds, that 10 seconds of dopamine hit that you get, think about how good that feels, but the reverse and then eternity. Yeah. Like, not the 10 seconds. Like, the dopamine, you get dopamine, but it's different. And it is amazing. Think about that, but you could have that forever, which is the complete opposite. With the other one, it's 10 seconds, and it's miserable, and you feel horrible about it. The other, you don't feel bad about it. You don't feel bad about getting closer with God. You just don't.
Way.
Yeah.
You're created to do that.
Exactly. It's where you're supposed to be. The chief end of man is to glorify God and enjoy him forever. Yeah. And that's a particular, or not a particular, that is a command for everyone. There are particular commands, like different people have different callings, but that is a calling for everyone.
Universal.
Yes. That's an Elliot thing.
Something I want to harp in on is I want to tell a story because it kind of goes with like being able to cut off your hand. Yeah. If your hand causes you to stumble, cut it off. If your eye does, gouge it out. So actually this morning, fun fact, this morning we have a Bible study that we do at home. I think we've talked about that before. And so we did Bible study this morning, and then I left like an hour after Bible study, and then I drove here, and then I'm leaving tomorrow morning, go to Florida. Long story, whatever. But so this morning we were in our Bible study, and we invite people. It's a very open thing, and someone from work came, and 3 guys from work, and they're part of another friend group. Basically, like there's my friend group, and then there's like their friend group, and those 3 were. They struggle with partying and they, do substances they shouldn't, but they don't want to, but they still do, and they keep stumbling. And they were talking about how, like, one of them went on a rant about how you should be so strong in your faith that you can go into those parties and know that you trust yourself that you're not going to be tempted. And I was like,
I disagree.
100%. I 100% disagree with him. I told him that.
You shouldn't be putting yourself in that place in the first place.
And they're like, well, sometimes some people like. He said the disciples they would go to like parties or sinful places, whatever he was saying, and they make disciples, or they go and they try to preach the word, but you're not one of the disciples, But the analogy I gave him is, and this is insanely extreme, but I was like, so picture the hottest girl you've ever seen in your entire life, right? She is super smoking hot, all right? And she wants you, right? She's coming on to you, and she's great, whatever. But y'all, you know you don't want to have sex, right? You're super there, like you're not gonna do anything with her because that's sinful, and you know you don't want to because you're so close with God. Okay, now you guys walk into the bedroom together. You close the door, you lock it. All right, you both take all your clothes off and you get in bed and then try not to touch each other all night. You go to sleep, try not to touch each other all night. That is literally what you're doing. How do you expect yourself? The hottest girl, she wants you so bad, but she's not gonna make the first move. You have to. How are you gonna trust yourself to be naked in bed with the hottest woman you've ever seen in your entire life? It's a super extreme, but that's the example I gave them, and they all sat there and like, yeah, yeah. They were like, I didn't think about that.
That's funny. Yeah, I think that goes back to like the two sides of the coin. So it's like they were explaining kind of going in there with like a good heart, like good intentions, but they didn't cut it off at the root. They didn't do anything to prevent putting themselves in that situation. So it's like you can't have one without the other. Like you're gonna fail.
Oh, 100%.
I have a story that sort of ties into that.
Sure.
So I know both of you already know this, but not a lot of people know this yet, which I'm fine with sharing. But I had been struggling with lust a lot. It was not too long after we moved here. I think you and Cam had like either just moved here or you were visiting, and y'all were out playing golf, right?
Okay.
This was the night before that. So basically, I'd fallen back into lust.
I know.
And I felt really guilty. Like, I felt terrible. And I told God, I said, if I do it again, strike me down. Like, I felt so terrible about it, which I'm not saying you should do that, and I'm not going to do that again.
Right.
But
do not put the Lord your God to the test.
Yeah, absolutely. And point being, I felt terrible about it. And the next day, I was talking to this girl, and I didn't even think twice about what happened the night before. But I was going to go to her dorm, and I was going to hang out with her. And I was like, okay, I got to run these errands first. Got to go to the store. So I went to Costco. Didn't find, I don't even remember what it was, but I had to go to Publix because I couldn't find it. I'm in Publix. I bump into this guy, and I was like, oh, my bad. He was like, no, you're good. And then he turns to me, and he goes, have you ever thought about selling your soul to the devil? And I was like, oof, yeah. I was like, nah, man, I'm a Christian. I was shocked. I didn't know what to say. I said, no, man, I'm a Christian. And he said, you should try it. It's fun. And I was just immediately felt so guilty about making plans with this girl because I knew where it was going to go, and I knew what was going to happen if I went there. I wasn't. Yeah,
that's crazy,
dude. That's nuts.
Immediately, didn't say a word to her. I did not go, but it was just like, yeah, I don't even know how to describe that feeling.
That's like, I feel like it's like supernatural. Like you just ran
it was. It was a
my fault.
Word.
I think that it was a demon that I was talking to. Like, genuinely,
100%.
It was a demon that I was talking to. And it's funny how I ended up not sinning because of a demon. Like, God used that guy to prevent me from going there.
I was thinking that, like, how that's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
That
how God can work through people who don't even know that they're being worked through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's...
Because God does whatever he wants, man.
Yeah.
He's the GOAT.
Oh,
He's that guy.
I thought you said Scott.
No,
not
God
Scott.
does whatever he wants.
Scott?
No, he is the GOAT of all goats.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's super crazy.
That's scary.
Yeah.
That's scary, bro. In that situation, I'd probably cry.
I was terrified.
I
I got in my car and I called you. That was the first thing I did.
Oh, really?
I was so scared.
That answer?
No, you didn't answer. You didn't answer like 2 or 3 times, and I kept calling you, and you're like, "Dude, I'm at the pool. What do you want?" And I told you, and then you were like, "Holy shit! Well, don't go see her." And I was like, "Yeah."
Damn. You're like, actually,
I think I will.
I think I'm
will.
going to.
Yeah.
After that, I think that sealed it.
Well, I think God was telling me that if I don't go, I'll be Satanist probably.
Yeah.
So I should probably go. Just knock it out real quick.
Yeah.
Get it over with.
He said, "Don't take too long." I think. I think that's what he was saying.
It's like, just make it quick.
And listen, I don't need 30 seconds. It's fine for me. Anyways.
I need 8 seconds. Is what I need.
Oh, 8 seconds, right?
That's a lot. That's still too much. Come on, man.
Anyways, guys, we're joking.
We are joking.
We're joking.
Yeah, we don't do that.
Just kidding.
You know, gotta have a little bit of fun on the podcast. You know what I'm saying?
Nope.
Absolutely. Oh, not at all.
No. Strictly business.
Mm-hmm.
and we're paying you for strictly business.
Yeah.
Oh no, wait.
You're paying
I'm
us.
paying you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Strictly business.
For strictly
So
business.
I need you both to get your acts together.
Okay, yes,
Okay,
sir.
Or I'll walk out right
Yeah.
now and only pay half.
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
and I'm sorry.
That's right. Yes, sir.
All right.
Yeah,
Fun
yes,
little
sir.
fact about Caleb and myself. Just gonna mention, about my tattoo.
I
You
know
can
exactly.
check out Caleb's real quick. Gonna stand up.
Yep.
Hold on, I'll stand up too. We got our nice little matching tattoos.
Yep. He's got Proverbs 3:5. I got Joshua 1:9.
Proverbs 3:5. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean not to your own understandings. I mention that one all the time.
And then I got
Nothing. Have I not commanded you?
Sit
Be
down.
strong and courageous. Do not be frightened or dismayed, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
wonderful.
Caleb, I love to hear it right there. Pleasure.
Oh damn!
Well, we got water there now.
That's okay. We did that last time
Well,
too.
there goes the rest of my lemonade. That's all right.
Well,
I'll get it later.
Yeah.
anyways,
All right.
Anyways.
let's get back on track,
Yeah,
guys.
yeah.
Enough joking around.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I actually have a verse that I think applies to honestly all three. I don't even need to pull out my phone. Actually, yes, I do.
You didn't memorize it yet.
I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me.
What?
And that's
You didn't know that off
Philippians
the cuff?
4:13.
Off the
I,
cuff?
I remember it and I have it memorized, but then I was just like blanked.
Right.
Right. I said that.
It's valid.
I can do all things. It's a 10-finger prayer. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me.
I can do
All things through Christ who strengthens me. 10-finger prayer. You ever heard of that?
No, I haven't.
Really?
No, I haven't heard that.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, but I think that applies to all three.
What
I
is that
always-
again? Philippians.
Yeah, Philippians 4:13. So I always think that in regards to the gym, in regards to getting into shape, whether you're coming from being skinny or being fat, but I think that it can also apply to lust, like overcoming that sin, that temptation. It can apply to that too. Apply to, well, anger. It's a little different, but yeah.
100%.
Yeah, big time. Josh, you whipping something out?
Oh, yeah, y'all keep it moving, but yeah, I'm looking for something.
But yeah, because there is a difference between physical strength and mental strength.
Oh, yeah.
And like when you go to the gym, obviously you're gonna get physically stronger because you're lifting weights, your muscles are getting bigger, you're growing, all that. Like, that is strength. That's physical strength. But I mean, you can be as big as you want, but if you have no mental strength, you're nothing.
Yeah.
right?
Mental strength is a different kind of discipline to build. Like you can get discipline with working out and get a big chest and bench this much and be disciplined in the gym. But if you don't have mental discipline, it's nothing.
Right.
It means nothing. Because it can be mental discipline like overcoming lust, or it could be mental discipline with going on this 10-mile run and not backing out partway through.
Yeah,
Right.
big time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and lacking the relationship with God too, because I feel like a lot of mental strength, mental toughness. Well, maybe not toughness as much, but strength comes from a relationship with God. Because when you're strong and courageous with your relationship with God, like who cares what the world thinks? Who cares what whatever? Like you have
Yeah.
the strength to do whatever you want because you know that you have God backing you up on whatever you're doing.
Absolutely.
Big time, Josh.
Yeah.
You good, bro?
Yeah. I found the one because I had two in my head.
I can see
But-
his phone. He's scrolling on Instagram.
Caleb, you gotta expose me like that, man.
I'm not paying you to scroll on Instagram.
Caleb, I got bored, man.
Lazy.
Oh, dang it.
Sloth.
Guys,
Thought I shook that.
I get a lot of feet comments. It's really weird.
Yeah. Yeah, let's take just a second.
To address.
Why?
And
Why?
dude, it'll be like, yummy, and then it'll have like a 44.18, and you'll tap on it, and that's a point in my video, and I'll go look at it. It's me doing this. It'll be me wiggling my feet or something. it's the weirdest thing I've ever seen in my entire life. And they're like, and one of them was like, very good podcast, but I think next time you should try taking your socks off and showing your feet off for the camera. What the hell,
I'm sorry.
guys? This is a freaking faith
Hey,
podcast.
those are me on an alt account.
What's up?
Huh? What?
I'm not
What's
taking
up?
all your money for you to come comment like this.
I'm gonna comment all I want.
All right, Josh, what you got?
Okay, so this is a classic. I've mentioned it on the podcast before, but it's 1 Corinthians 10:13. So no temptation has overtaken you. Oh, sorry, I just scrolled off a bit. No temptation has overtaken you that is not common to man. God is faithful, and he will not let you be tempted beyond your ability. But with the temptation, he will also provide a way of escape. That way you might be able to endure it. So basically,
I actually said that this morning.
Did
I
you?
literally
Really?
referenced that this morning when I was talking about whatever, because they were talking about like how sometimes it's good to test yourself and put yourself in whatever. I was like, no, you're playing God at that point. If
Yeah.
you're trying to put yourself in your own situations, you're playing God.
Yeah.
Because God's gonna test you. You don't test yourself. God tests you for the discipline and the relationship with Him. And so when you're putting yourself in situations, you're playing God. You're trying to say, no, God, don't worry about it. I got it. I'll figure it out. I'll test myself. I'll figure it out myself. Then you're not trusting the Lord with all your heart.
Yeah.
yeah, that's 1 Corinthians 10:13, by the way. Forgot to say that. But yeah, that's just, I've definitely mentioned it. I don't know if on the podcast before, but that's one of my favorites because I feel like it's just such a good reminder that even though it feels like super hard in the moment, it's not impossible. So like God's not gonna throw something at you that's just totally impossible and be like and expect you to come out of it.
Yeah.
Right.
Like it just doesn't make sense.
Right.
So like if you were testing one of your friends or whatever, if you were testing somebody with something they were physically unable to do, like, all right, I'm gonna test my friend Caleb. All right, 100 pull-ups,
100?
pull-ups, or our friendship's done, right now, no break. It's like
That's ridiculous.
it's
Yeah.
Like what part? Like I don't expect them to be able to do 100 pull-ups
You don't?
or push-ups, whatever I just said.
Pull-ups.
Pull-ups. Yeah, I don't.
Mm-hmm.
Well, because you're playing God.
Exactly.
And what I was also this morning, what I was saying is when I referenced that, I said God doesn't give you tests that He knows you can't fail, or that He knows you can't pass. He knows if He knows you're going to fail, He's not going to give it to you.
Mm-hmm.
But when you play God and you try to put yourself in, you're destined to fail because you're going to go beyond your own limits because you're not all knowing like God. You don't necessarily know what your limits are. You're just taking a guess. He does. He knows that you'll have the ability to overcome it no matter how hard it is. Otherwise, He would not give you the certain test.
Yep. The other one I just found it is so this is Ephesians 6:13. So it's therefore put on the full armor of God so that when the day of evil comes, you may be able to stand your ground, and after you have done everything to stand. Stand firm then with the belt of truth buckled around your waist, and the breastplate of righteousness in place, and with your feet fitted with the readiness that comes with the gospel of peace. Yeah, so that was actually, it wasn't just 13. So it was Ephesians 6:13 through 15.
We actually memorized that in CC like a long time ago.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remembered part of it.
That is the verse of our podcast. TBH.
Really?
TBH.
TBH. To be honest.
Yeah.
Because it
It
talks
is.
about
It's
the
the
armor
armor.
of God,
Yeah.
being able to put on the armor of righteousness. That's what our goal is in this podcast, and that's what not only are we trying to help equip you guys, but we're trying to do it ourselves.
Oh, 100%.
Because like
Yeah.
we don't have it all figured out. We're young. I'm 18, 20, 18. Like we're young. Like, we're still all trying to figure it out, but we're figuring it out together and every single day. And so we're gonna come on here. We're gonna teach you what we've learned. So you learn from our mistakes because we've made lots of mistakes. I mean, we're not perfect. We mess up all the time. We fall. We stumble. We get back up though every single time.
Yeah,
So
I mean, we're just coming on here and just discussing it.
Yeah.
Right, and we're not dictating. We're not saying you are bad. You are how dare you, or we're better than you. It's not
Yeah.
like that. We're not up here preaching from down here.
Preaching too.
Yeah, we're walking this journey together, and that's how I hope that anyone who's watching this sees it like that. Is as men, we are called to be leaders, and we are called to have a relationship with God and to lead our lives, lead each other, lead our families, lead our wives, our kids, all that. We are called to do that as men.
Yeah.
100%.
But you can't figure it out on your own.
No.
So we're all figuring it out together, and we hope that anyone who needs this and is looking for how to do it, this is your how to do it guide.
Yeah.
Yeah. To add on to that, I'd say that it's y'all's calling to help lead and teach people who don't completely understand. Like you're helping plant that seed and helping a younger generation understand. Yeah.
Big time.
Big time. Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. I think that we had talked about this at From the Sun, but we talked about how our calling is not to bring new followers to Christ, but to help lead and help guide people who believe in God, but they don't follow God.
Right, lukewarm Christianity, I think, is a
Lukewarm
lot
Christianity.
of our like specialty. Like,
Yeah.
because what you meant is like, I don't believe our calling is like for Satanists, us
Yeah.
to convert Satanists,
Oh, yeah.
because that takes like a cliff type guy. And Like if I was ever in that situation, I would love to, but they're not even gonna take the time to listen to this. They don't care. They're gonna scroll right past it. So our goal is for someone who like has the ambition, has the drive, and is looking for something, like they have it. They're living in this sin, but they know they're supposed to be more. Which is I was in that exact same spot, and they want to know how can they get out of it. Well, we all were in it, and we all got out of it for the most part, and now we're working every day to get completely out of it and to grow closer with God every single day.
Yeah, and that's a big problem, especially in America, is lukewarm Christianity. There are, I'd say, millions of people who believe in God, but they don't put their faith in God. They don't obey God. They're still living in their sin.
Yeah.
Right? That's my goal.
Checkbox Christianity.
And they're living in their sin, but they're also emotional thinkers.
Yeah.
So I mean, you can look at. I'm just going to use this as an example. I'm not saying that this is all, but if you look at like people on the left, like they're all like there's Christians on the left.
Yeah.
But like I've met Christians that are for abortion.
Yeah, I have to.
Which is insane.
Yeah.
What Christians that are for abortion, and the fact that that's even like possible, it's just they don't have their faith in God, but I feel like they just don't have the ability to really think through it. Like it's all just like emotion. Like I feel like it's the woman's right.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
I'd take that a step further and say there are churches who support LGBTQ.
Oh, yeah. Uh-huh.
Which is, what is the main thing of LGBTQ? What's that 1 month called?
Pride.
And what's one of the 7 deadlies?
Pride.
Exactly. And do you think that they're lukewarm Christians? Do you think that they're living in their sin? Or are they for God? Right.
First one, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's not our job to bash them. And it's not our job to say.
Definitely not.
It's not our job to hate them. We still love them, but we're trying to bring them to understand and know Christ.
Yeah.
Right.
That's very well said.
Yeah.
I agree.
Did you guys see the Olympics? The beginning, the opening to the Olympics.
You showed me that last night.
That is ridiculous.
Yeah, they mocking the Last Supper.
Yeah. What
Insane. And like the white horse, like the Revelation stuff.
Yeah.
Man.
That is insane.
It's disrespectful.
Absolutely disrespectful.
It's completely disrespectful, and they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
They're mocking.
Yeah. 100%.
Fools.
And when you think about it, I mean, what other religions are they mocking? They're not mocking Jewish people. They're not mocking Muslims. They're mocking Christians.
That is a very good point.
Yeah.
What does that further tell you about Christianity?
Yeah. Why would the devil attack things that aren't true?
Right.
He's only going to attack the truth.
And he's gonna allow like the false to keep being like what's it called? Keep being blank as truth. That's a word.
I don't know.
Laid out as truth and like.
Oh yeah, so they're trying to say this is true, and they're spreading that, and that's like their agenda. Is that what you're trying to say?
And it goes back to like what we were talking about on the podcast with Elliot about how do you eat an elephant?
One bite at a time.
It just he does it over time. So
Kelly Goggins.
CC.
Yeah.
Because all the words that were said. It's actually a Zach quote, guys. You just quoted me. I said, how do you eat an elephant? CC, Kelly Goggins.
No, yeah, but I'm saying like
this was Elliot. One bite at a time.
That was in one of y'all's clips on Instagram.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
One bite at a time.
Yeah.
Elliot just straight
shout out my boy, the customer I did an install for. I told him about the podcast, and he followed while I was there.
Hey,
yeah, he was really cool.
What a freaking stud!
What a guy. Hey, we appreciate you.
This is your boy Caleb.
Hey,
he installed your security system.
I did.
He is a stud.
Put up 2 outdoor cameras, doorbell panel, some sensors, deadbolt.
Hooked him up.
That's what I like to hear.
It's awesome. It
So
really is.
let's get back on track.
Sure.
Yeah.
Back to what we're discussing. I guess we kind of got into truth a little bit, but
Yeah, we did.
yeah. So like, why would the devil? Why is the devil attacking Christianity and not Catholicism and Judaism, all that kind of stuff? Like, why are they not doing all those other religions or whatever? Because those are his. He owns that. Like that's a really hot take, but he wants that to be.
It's controversial.
He wants that to be laid out as truth. There's a freaking word for it.
Yeah.
Portrayed. He wants it to be portrayed as truth. And he wants it to still be portrayed
I
as
was about to
truth.
say perceived.
And then there's also this idea of respecting other religions. Like, I respect them as people,
Absolutely.
But if they're spreading false information and they're spreading things and saying that it's true, like, I'm not just going to stand by and be like, no, yeah, that's okay. Like, I'm not going to stand there. Like, you think about Elijah on the mountain making fun of the prophets of Baal, saying maybe he's asleep, maybe he's on the toilet, because they were trying to get him to, like, bring fire down. And then he poured water on this big pile of wood. He poured water on it, and God struck it, and it caught on fire.
Yeah, that's
Dang.
insane.
Like, he didn't care. He was like the first. He was trash talking these other religions.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, because like you're saying, you don't disrespect them. You gotta respect them. But
Yeah.
because you don't hate the person, you hate the sin.
Exactly.
You love the person, hate the sin.
Yeah.
Right. Because it's not the person that's necessarily doing it. It's the sin that they're doing. It's not the person that's doing wrong. It's the sin that they're accepting and living in that's wrong.
Yeah.
But I saw there's a guy who commented on one of my podcasts, and he was like, "Great podcast, man, but you should look into Catholicism." And like, I grew up Christian and doing all these things, and then it wasn't. He said like he lost somebody. It wasn't until then that he started doing real research and looking into Catholicism and how it's the original Church of Christ, which is what he says, that the church that God created. And I don't know. I wanted to know what y'all's take is on that. Great guy. I'm not knocking the guy at all. He said a very nice comment. He really enjoyed the podcast. He was just saying something I should look into. Yeah. So really nice guy. But
I mean, originally, like, Catholicism today is not the same as it was originally. Mm-hmm. So, what was it? When the church split, Roman Catholics or whatever.
yeah.
It's at the tip of my tongue, but whatever that was, there was a split for a reason. The church got corrupt. So the reason they split, the first split. So I can't remember if we talked about this before, but like every time, this is like a me and Elliot, or like a me, you and Elliot, or us and Elliot type of conversation. But every time a church will have a small disagreement, they'll just branch off and
We talked about this in the Elliot podcast.
Okay. Yeah. So every time they just branch off and make a new religion. So that is
Because they're running away from the sin and the...
Yeah, and they don't know how to communicate and solve their problems.
Right.
So I think now when all these churches are like splitting off, and you look and there's 20 different religions, they all like stem from one. So originally, Catholicism, yes, was it was the church. It was one. There wasn't multiple. And the first split, it was corrupt. And so the split needed to happen originally. However, Catholicism, it's not like they just stayed the same. Like, they've been corrupt like throughout the years. So I'm not knocking Catholics at all. And
we grew up Catholic.
Exactly.
So fun fact, if the guy who commented is coming back, but we did grow up Catholic, so we actually are very knowledgeable on the Catholic religion. Like, we made it everywhere except for confirmation. We made it all the way up until confirmation.
Yeah.
We didn't get confirmed into the church, and then now we split from that. And so a greater point of what you're saying that I'd like to bring to attention of anyone, even that guy who's saying, look into Catholicism, like, I hear what you're saying, but at this point, and I talked about this on the Elliot podcast, the smartest thing the devil ever did was divide all of us believers and Christians into groups, and split the church in so many different ways, so that now we all argue because we all have slight differences and disagreements, and it's the smartest thing the devil ever did.
Yeah, because it makes it seem like we're not all on the same team.
Right.
When we are.
When we really aren't. Honestly, he has separated us into teams, and we're going with that.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah, the idea of following religion is BS.
Right.
I agree. I agree.
Right?
That's what I'm getting there.
The main differences of the different churches is all about like tradition, right? Mm-hmm. So I mean, you can have tradition, that's okay, but as long as you're following Christ and you're putting your faith in Christ, then that's the most important thing.
Yeah.
Well, what I was getting towards, which was kind of that, but no, you're good. So with all that being said, and looking at Catholicism now and what it was, whatever, all the different splits, how do you choose a religion? Well, you don't, because in this day and age, it's different than when you going back to the original Catholic Church. Because I would argue that that's probably where you should be, 2,000 years ago, right? The Catholic Church.
Sure.
But looking at it now, like when God first created it, but looking at it now, and looking at all the different religions, like, how do you pick a religion? Like, because I've definitely heard that question been asked before, like, well, what religion do I have to do? Which one's right? Which one's correct? They're not. None of them. None of them are going to be 100% correct because they're run by sinful humans. So what do? You do exactly what you said. You have to stray away from religion, because this is a whole different day and age. When I know that's a really hot take, and that might be hard to hear because you're so used to your generational tradition. Especially my family, we come from a family of Catholics. Like, everyone's Catholic. All my parents were married in the Catholic Church, and so were their parents, and we're Catholic all the way back. But we're breaking that Catholic chain right now, and even our cousins are. Like, my mom's sister's children, like, our cousins are Catholic, but we're not, because in this day and age you cannot follow religion anymore. You have to follow Christ because of how corrupt the church has become, and all the different religions have become, and how much Satan has gotten in there and worked his way. You have to run away from it. It's almost like the same concept as running away from your sin. Is you have to run away from the religions, because the religions are gonna have lots of sinful people. And if you hear a lot of people talk about, like, they used to believe but now they don't, what's the reason? It was the church. The church screws it for a lot of people because of the sinful humans that run the sinful organizations.
And so you go ahead.
Okay, so what I was gonna add is times change. That's, like, you can't argue with that. Times change. So this is where being able to think and process, and think freely, think for yourself, and process, like, everything that's going on, being able to assess it. It just doesn't make sense anymore. It doesn't. Now, what you still should do, even if you don't belong to, like, a religion, is gather with other believers. What is it? When two or more gather in
my name, there I'll be with you.
There it is. I definitely think prioritizing that is a must. Like,
absolutely.
Non-negotiable.
Yeah.
But it's just being able to, like, think freely, and it's like, okay, well, yes, it's like you said, it's looking at the traditions of all these churches and why they believe what they believe, sure. But what I am is, I'm a follower of God.
Same here.
Follower of Christ.
Yeah, follower of Christ.
Yeah.
Same thing. And so that's what I am. I'm not a Catholic. I'm a Christian, because Christians are
our followers.
Yeah.
It's
our
not
followers.
necessarily religion. It's kind of the
Sure.
sum of whatever.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Exactly. Anyways.
Yeah, so I'm going to pull Elliot real quick. But why do you think that there are flaws in the church?
subjective and objective.
Because man is subjective and God is objective. So God's truth, the Bible, truth and logic and reasoning, it will always be true. But since we, as mankind, the church was created by us, and since we're the ones teaching it, there are going to be flaws. Right? So that's why there's corruption in the church, is because it's run by man and not run by God.
That's an excellent point, actually, because nobody's perfect unless your name is Jesus Christ. So any pastor of a church is not perfect, and nor do, like, I expect them to be. But at the end of the day, you just have to take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
So, but that's why being able to think and communicate is such a big thing also. So yes, you need to be able to think, but you also need to be able to communicate the thoughts that you have. Being able to do that is such a big thing. And then when you mix that with gathering with other believers, with other men of God, that's where you get the best result. Not just going down and sitting in a pew and just, like,
saying your Hail Mary and your Our Father, and
then listening
Our
to
Father, great prayer.
listening to a little sermon for 20-30 minutes, and then calling it a day, calling it a week,
Or
and
even
then
like
until the next week. So it's just, if that works for you, great, but it doesn't actually work.
or even like going to church camp and saying a little prayer and
The music's great
believing
and,
in God. I don't
Camp
it's not their intention to do this, right? But camps will do this thing where they make it so that it's a choice. It's a choice that you make at the end of the week or throughout the week to accept Jesus into your heart and to believe, is the emphasis that they put at these church camps, right?
Sure.
And I've been to a lot, and I very much enjoyed them, right? Great week, great
time.
camps, great people. But the emphasis is wrong. They're saying that the emphasis should be the belief in God, which is wrong. The emphasis should be put on putting your faith in God and trusting in the Lord with all of your heart.
And
right?
following him.
And obeying him. It's about the obedience and not about the belief. Even the demons believe in God. But it's excuse me. So even the demons believe in God, but the difference is that we put our faith in God.
Caleb, we're having a conversation. This is not a YouTube video.
What?
We're sorry. Podcasts are conversations.
Conversation. I got you.
And YouTube videos are what's going on, guys? Welcome back to
Like and subscribe.
Yes, you keep.
I
And
keep
so
looking over there.
and so the point
500
of
subs
this.
giveaway. Comment down below to enter. Follow social medias.
My bad, guys.
Hey, it's okay,
You
man.
good, man? You good?
It's okay.
Just sorry. You keep doing. I just want to make sure we're on the same
Yeah,
page.
yeah,
We're,
I got
we're
you.
having a conversation.
Turn my
Dude,
chair
and
this
give
way
me
a
some
little bit.
bumps for
Give
that.
me some bumps. Yeah. All right. You finish what you were saying.
All around.
Yeah, but that's the emphasis that it should be put on is believing, not believing, but putting your faith in and obeying God as opposed to just the belief.
Trust Him with all your heart.
100%.
That's right.
And that's like kind of how you said that's not their intention, but it's who are these camps run by? Lukewarm Christians. It's like
Big time.
Yeah.
lukewarm Christians that had a really good camp experience as a kid, which is awesome. And I think that there's a very big place in the world right now for church camps like that for kids.
Yeah, they hold value.
Oh,
for
sure.
sure.
They hold a
100%.
ton of value. I'm not trying to bash on church
Definitely
camps
not.
at all.
Look, we went all
I think-
4 years
Yeah,
of high
all
school.
4 years. They're very important, but I'm saying that the emphasis is incorrect.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
It makes
Agree.
sense. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. It's good stuff, but I don't know how you want to wrap this up, but
All right, bye guys. We'll see you next time.
No.
but it's like we gotta end on like a
Yeah, we gotta know something solid. I
Yeah.
was thinking something, but I couldn't remember what it was.
On like
What were you talking about before we passed it off to Caleb?
Yeah, there was something I was gonna add on to besides that, but I forgot.
oh.
I forgot.
I was like, go ahead, man. Like,
No, what were we talking about with you before Caleb?
what do you mean? When?
Like before Caleb just got the baton, what were you talking about?
Oh, being able to like think and then,
Yes.
yeah,
Yes,
being able to
okay.
think, being able to communicate, and then gathering with other believers, other men of God,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that being a much better recipe than
So
that's
church.
What I was thinking with that, and I let him talk first, but is if you're sitting there and you're hearing us talk about religion, you're getting this fire, you're like, that's not true, and I like right there, kind of proves you wrong just a little bit. I don't know if you would agree, because when you're sitting there, that's your emotion coming out. Right?
Exactly, yeah, and you have to be able to have emotional maturity and intelligence, because like everybody has emotions, it's just part of human nature.
Right.
So being able to control them, that's like I hate to keep bringing politics into this, but because like that's not what we're here to talk about. But it's like people on the left will just get so like angry. It's like, oh, like I hate that. Like it just makes me so mad.
yeah.
Think about it. Okay, well if it upsets you, that's fair, but why?
Right.
Let's talk it out. Why does it
How are
upset
you supposed to How are you supposed to, what you grow up in, what you believe is not necessarily truth. You do not grow up on truth, and if you sit there and you try to rely on what you grew up as to be objectively truth because you grew up on that's what your parents taught you, you're never getting anywhere with life. You can't freely think without being able to sit back, listen to what we're saying, because we're sitting here giving you a whole different opinion than probably what you've ever heard in your entire life. Completely different. If you cannot sit here and, hide your emotions, don't think and just listen, take in what we're saying, process it, and be able to think freely on, okay, I agree with this, but I don't agree with that. If you are not able to do that, I don't want to be harsh, so it's going to end it there.
Also, don't believe exactly what we say. Like, let your faith be your own, not ours. Right? You should believe for yourself and not believe off of our word, not believe off of your parents' word. You should make your faith your own.
Yeah, you
Right.
should take it all in and process and think about it. But
Break it down.
We're just
logically.
giving you perspective, a different perspective, and what we believe to be truth.
Yeah. Yeah, and then back to what Josh was saying earlier about our country has a big problem with not having free thinkers, not having logical thinkers, and a lot of people not being able to reason. Parents, put your kids in classical conversations. That is what we grew up doing. That is how we became free thinkers, how we became logical thinkers. That is what should be done. I think that it's the most truth-based school in America.
and I would agree with that.
It's a homeschooling. It's a
Homeschool
homeschooling
program.
Like
Yeah.
program.
Yeah. So, but it's like you think about it, you're sending your kids to a public school, right? And your kids, that's like when they're developing into people. That's when their brains are developing. That's when they have the most influence.
Right.
So when they have, sorry, I was not in my mic right there. When their brains are still developing and they're still very easily influenced, I feel like it just makes sense to want to like influence them with the right things and not just send them off.
Right, because the public school system is corrupt.
Uh-huh.
And that's why all these kids vape and they smoke and they drink, because they're not being taught anything better, and they're not Christians. They don't care about their faith. And whether you take them to church or not, if that's all you're doing and you're sending them off during the week and whatever, that one day a week is not going to make them a Christian or have a relationship with God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not at all. It's because when you feel like you have to be there and it's not a choice, how can you expect a kid whose brain isn't fully developed, like I was saying, to be like, okay, yeah, like this all makes sense. I'm a Christian now. I'm going to practice this. Like, you can't expect a kid to just go out and build a excellent relationship with God just by sending them to church one day out of the week.
Right.
Making it seem like they have to. Like,
and I don't know if you know the story, but one of our buddies, I won't name him, but he's hard time with his mom right now. But his older brother, right now is not a believer in any way. Like, he does not believe in Jesus. He has no faith in him. He started smoking, drinking, vaping once he went to college.
yeah.
And then I'm thinking, like, well, okay, if our friend's this way, because he's very in line with us and he has a faith, but that came from us, not the family. And what they used to do, what he told me, is that, like, they would take his older brother's phone if he didn't go to church. Like, it became this, like, when they got old enough, like, when they were young, it wasn't their choice. When they got old enough, it was. But if they didn't, they would take his phone, or they would ground him, or they would ever if he didn't go.
Is it a choice at that point?
You have no choice in the go.
Yeah.
And that, now looking at him now, years later, when he's an adult, it's fully his choice to go or not go. He doesn't go to church. He lives in his sin. He does things of the earth because look at the way
flesh.
Right, because look at the way you tried to raise him. You tried to force rather than show him Jesus' love.
Mm-hmm.
That's also a big issue that we have with trying to bring people to Christ, is that we're trying to force it. Not we, the three of us, but
Christians as a whole.
I've seen it time and time again, even with Cliff. Like, Cliff is probably the most knowledgeable Christian I've ever listened to. But I've watched a few of his debates with Muslims and with atheists, and I didn't like the way he did it. I didn't like the way that he said, this is what is. What I did like about it was that he said, don't take my word for it. Go in, read this. Do not take my word for it. I like that. However, he was saying, this is what you believe as an atheist, or this is what you believe as a Muslim, and this is what is. And he wasn't leading them to the conclusion themselves. He was telling them what the fact was, and it was true, but they aren't going to take it if you're forcing it on them.
Right. It is objectively true, but they're not going to see it as objectively
exactly.
true.
They have to come to that conclusion themselves. You have to ask questions to lead someone to a conclusion.
It's objective truth that you have to come to the objective truth by getting subjective truth. Would you agree?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Coming to your own subjective truth. I think that's a solid thing to end on. Would you agree?
Yeah. And then let's just kind of like quick overview of kind of what we talked about, or I guess conclusion.
Yeah.
However you want to do that.
Little paper, little essay for school. Let's go.
Little conclusion to sum up everything that's been stated so far.
You got a little keyword outline.
I always used to say that instead of in conclusion, to add a couple extra words.
Wait, you'd say what?
To sum up everything that's been stated so far.
Wow.
Nice. Nice.
I like that.
The teacher was like, oh.
And you could be to sum up everything that's been stated so far, and in conclusion, then you've got more words.
Then you got 2 more words.
You got 2 more words. And I don't think that's technically something you can't say.
Words.
I mean, you could probably
It's
say
not a fallacy, is it? Can't say that.
Conclusion. No conclusions.
Anyways, besides the point.
Anyway.
Or you could switch it in conclusion to sum up what's been stated so far.
Yeah.
Oh, then you got all the words.
then you got all the words.
Then you got your 500,000 word essay right there.
Heck yeah, dude.
No, 500,000.
500,000 word essay.
Oh, God.
That's required for Harvard.
Let's pump it up.
I blew it.
But yeah, so just to wrap it up, so we talked about sin, so sinful nature. Kind of shared our experiences and then how to get out of it. So, or maybe some steps. So 2 sides of the coin. And then we kind of went off topic a little bit. I won't lie. You know.
It was a good off topic though.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
You know, we followed where the conversation was headed. So we didn't try to force it like in its lane. So, but yeah, if you have anything else.
Caleb, you got anything else you gotta say before?
Yeah, just like if you're living in a life of sin, ask ask for the Holy Spirit to be put in you, be in the room with you, be in your heart, be in your mind, and help you see the sin that you're living in, because sometimes you'll be living in it and not even know it.
Yeah.
So just try to be open to knowing what you're doing, and if you know that you're doing it, to pray about it.
The first step is identifying.
Exactly. Yeah.
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 Yeah. Well, cool.
Yeah.
I think that does it. Well, hey, thank you guys all for watching.
Yeah.
Caleb,
Thank you
my
guys
man.
for having me on.
Yeah,
Yes,
really
thank you for
appreciate it.
coming on,
Thank
big
you
dog.
for coming
Absolutely.
on. Thank you for the money.
Yeah, I'll
Yeah.
take that. I'll take that check right now.
Where you
Yeah.
go blow it?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Gonna go to,
500K?
go to the club.
So your down payment, you already gave us down payment. Otherwise, you wouldn't have started.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
With that being said,
we made sure that was in the bank before we hit record.
right. And
Yeah.
with that being said, your monthly payments start today.
Okay.
So
So it's a down payment and the first
so
month.
50,000 is expected today.
Let me grab my
Right.
wallet.
Anyways, we'll discuss that later on after the podcast. Don't want to get too
y'all
personal.
y'all don't worry about it. That's
Yeah.
that's the business side, right?
Uh-huh.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Perfect.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Well, I appreciate you all watching. Got many more episodes to come.
For
Caleb,
sure,
great guy.
for sure.
Good, all that good stuff.
Caleb, yeah, he's a little stud.
Little stud.
over there. Again, shout out to his customer. Subscribing. We appreciate you.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Hope you guys all have a fantastic day. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you guys in the next one.